Hi, my name is Rhonda Smith, and I'm one of the artists at TAG, the Artist Gallery in Frederick, Maryland. And I'd like to share with you my printmaking process. To start with, I'm making an intaglio linocut print. And so, to begin, I need to soak my paper for a few minutes. I have to soak the paper because an intaglio print requires that the paper be damp before you print it. I work with plexiglass plates. So what you're looking at here is one of my plexiglass plates that I've glued a piece of fabric to, and also I've used some acrylic paint to paint a pattern and texture on top of that fabric. And now I'm squeezing the ink into the pores of the fabric and into the grooves and ridges of that plate. Now I'm going to wipe off the excess ink, because the idea with an intaglio plate is that you want to print the recessed areas of the plate, the grooves and the lines that are embedded in the plate. And you're going to wipe off all the ink on the surface of the plate. So that's what I'm doing here and now. Intaglio is also a word that refers to something called etching. And you might have heard of etchings. They're often done on copper or zinc. And in my case, I'm just using plexiglass. Now we're back to that sheet of paper that I put in the water. And I'm going to get rid of some of that excess water before I actually transfer the ink from the plate to that sheet of paper. And I'm going to blot that sheet of paper because I want to remove most of the water on the surface. I want the water to be embedded and damp within the paper itself. I'm using Reeves BFK paper, which is a very soft paper, and so it will mold itself and go down into the ridges and the grooves on the plate. And I position that sheet of paper onto my plate that's been placed on the press bed, and I'm going to lower a sheet of paper, and then I'm going to lower blankets. The blankets also act as cushions, and they help push the paper into the grooves that are on that plate in order to pull out that ink from that surface. And here we go. We're going to take a look at that color printed. And you can see that some areas are lighter and some areas are a little bit darker. And that's the result of the fabric and that paint on that surface. For this particular image that I'm doing today, I want to have a two-color background. And so I have a second plate that I'm using that just has some lines that I've etched into the piece of plexiglass. When I say etched, what I really mean is I used an X-Acto knife and some other tools to basically scratch into that plexiglass surface. And when I did that, that means that the ink that I'm pushing into those lines will stay there. And once again, we're going to wipe off all the excess ink. On this particular plate, you can see there's a lot of ink that's being removed. The next step here is that plate gets placed on the press. The sheet of paper that I'd printed, that blue-green color, gets laid on top, and we run it through the press. So now we've printed a blue-green kind of a color and a pink on this one sheet of paper. I might say also that I'm printing at Shepherd University. I'm using their printmaking facilities. This is not my personal studio. I wish it were, but Shepherd is very gracious. I taught there for over 31 years, and they're very gracious about allowing me to use their facilities. So you can see the blue and the pink in that particular print. And it was very subtle because I didn't want a lot of pink. I just wanted a sort of subtle pink. The final plate in this process is a linoleum plate. And a linoleum print or lino print is one where you roll the ink over the surface and you ink up the surface area. So it's very different. And in the linoleum print, you go in with gouges and tools and you remove lines and elements from the linoleum to reveal the particular image that you want to create. So you can see that whatever's white, that's been removed from the plate, so it's sunken in, and anything that's dark is raised up on that particular plate. And I'm going to take that sheet of paper that already has two colors on it, and it's dry now. I laid a little piece of board, matte board, on top of all that because I don't want the press to push the paper into the crevices of this linocut. I only want to print the ink that's on the surface of this particular plate. So I don't want the paper to drop down, and that board allows me to keep it from dropping down. So let's take a look at what we finally ended up with. And we're going to pull it off the press here. And there it is. So a 3-color print. So there's a sheet of paper with just 2 colors, and then the linocut that's been printed on top for the final product. I've been working with linocuts now for 2 years. I really enjoy the process. I hope you enjoyed seeing and learning a little bit more about how my prints are made. You can see my work at TAG in Frederick. So it's TAG, the artist, the artist gallery at frederick.com. Thank you.